Is it working? Looks to me like it's working. I got the green light. Okay. Okay. So, new Pokemon DLC has dropped. I'm wearing the merch. Respect it. All right. Respect the merch. 20th anniversary for Fallen. All right. I also got a Linkin Park shirt. 20th anniversary of, well, that was 3 years ago, the Hybrid Theory. But they've also had the 20th anniversary of Meteor. That's right. I'm a new metal. I'm a new metal guy. All right. You can make fun of me all you want. No one makes fun of new metal guys anymore. Like that was in the 2000s. Everyone made fun of them then. Now it's accepted and cool. It's nostalgic. So now it's cool to like them. And now, now it doesn't matter. But I liked it before it was cool. Let me put it out there. Anyway, we got some new Pokemon stuff. And I want to go over the new Mons and everything. I've made some teams, so at some point I'm going to play, but not right now. I'm going to do it later. I just want to talk about the new Pokemon and the ones that are returning that I think are the most significant. Some buffs for Pokemon that are already in the game, and just some new moves that they have access to now. And I want to start with, of course, the boy Sceptile. Now, if you followed my channel for a little bit, you might know that I'm a big fan of this Pokemon. I'm just a little big fan. You know what I mean? This is my favorite Pokemon of all time. It's my first starter. I really like its design. I think it's just really cool. It's really cool. I love the move Leaf Blade. I love the idea of it using its arm blades and stuff like that. It just looks cool. Okay. There's nothing more complicated about it. It's just a cool Pokemon, and I like it. But when it comes to competitive, Sceptile hasn't always been the best, right? Sceptile wants to be a Swords Dance sweeper, but tragically they gave it 105 special attack instead of 105 attack, and they still haven't fixed it. But what they've done is, instead of making it trying to make the Swords Dance set better, instead of that, they're trying to make a brand new strategy to use it with Shed Tail. Now, Shed Tail is a really good move. Some say it's broken. I don't think it's broken. Honestly, I don't think it's broken. I think with as much sound moves and the ability Infiltrator to ignore Substitute that's in the game, I think it's fair. But Pokemon Showdown banned it anyway. But you can still use this on Battle Spot singles. That's exactly what I plan to do with Sceptile, is use it in Battle Spot singles. And just have this thing be a free Shed Tail setup. You know what I mean? The main idea with this new playstyle that Sceptile has is to use Shed Tail. It's at full HP, beginning the battle, use Shed Tail, cut its HP in half, and then swap out to a Pokemon to give them the substitute. So you lead with this. Maybe you go for a Protect to scout what the opponent is doing. I believe Sceptile, does it have Taunt? It does not, unfortunately. Dang. If it had Taunt, that would be extremely good, but it unfortunately does not. But yeah, so you can Protect and scout out what their move is going to be, what the opponent's going to do. And then you can go for, Shed Tail and swap out to something. Your speed is 120, so you're likely going to be faster than most things in the game, without, of course, a Choice Scarf or any kind of enhancements. So, I mean, the chances of you actually just doing this is really good. And not only that, but after, let's say, the Pokemon that you pass the substitute dies, and you had to go back into another Pokemon, you can go back in the Sceptile and use Giga Drain, heal its HP back up, Leech Seed Protect, heal itself back up, or instead of Protect, you can go for Endeavor, use the advantage that you're at low HP from Shed Tail, and drop the opponent's HP to whatever yours is. Now, of course, the risk of Shed Tail is that obviously it cuts your HP in half a lot, and it requires you to have half HP to use it. So if you have 49%, it will not work. So you do have to make sure that Sceptile is healthy. That's why I have the max HP. If I'm going to use this in Battle Spot singles, I'm going to use Citrus Berry instead of instead of leftovers, just because I want that burst healing of 25% before I switch out, before I try to use Shed Tail right. If they do manage to, outspeed me or priority, they use priority to outspeed me, I want to be able to make sure Shed Tail is going to go off. And Citrus Berry, I think, is the most easy way to do that. But yeah, so Sceptile now has a new playstyle, and now has a new goal that it can do. It can be, it can run support instead of trying to be offensive like it kind of always has been. Of course, the Leech Seed Protect set has always existed as well, but mainly you see Sceptile trying to use Unburden. And I don't think Unburden is really good for this set, even with the Citrus Berry, because you're going to be switching out, so you'll lose the Unburden boost. So you kind of, once you use Unburden, you have to commit. You have to use it the turn it triggers. Otherwise, you're just not really going to get much use out of it. But I think Overgrow is actually better here because it boosts the power of your Giga Drain. That's very good. Being able to heal more from the damage you're dealing. That's very nice. It allows you to potentially do a Shed Tail again. But besides that, they also gave it Scale Shot. I'm not sure if they gave it this last generation. I honestly can't remember. But I don't remember using it. The main reason why I'm mentioning it now, if it was in Gen 8, is because you can Terra Dragon. I think that's kind of cool. You go for Terra Dragon, Swords Dance, Scale Shot with the loaded dice. You're hitting 4 times at least. Lowering your defense, boosting your speed, and then of course with Swords Dance doubling your attack, it's pretty solid, right? Still have Leaf Blade for your grass coverage, Overgrow. I'm not using Unburden because again, there's not really much point. I'm raising my speed with Scale Shot instead. There's no point to use Unburden. And then Earthquake just for coverage as usual. But nothing wrong with the original set, right? Nothing wrong with the Leaf Blade, Earthquake, Acrobatic set. With Sword Stance, Citrus Berry, Unburden. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's not the best set because Sceptile's attack is so low. 85 is just not acceptable, unfortunately. And even doubled with Sword Stance, it's still not that high. 295, you go to, 590. It's just not enough to make a dent in today's Pokemon. So, I do like that they gave a Shed Tail. I think that's a really nice buff for Sceptile. I think that's so good. And maybe they'll bring back Mega Sceptile one day. Maybe they will. That requires Game Freak to swallow their pride and admit that they were wrong for removing it. So they'll never do it. But I can dream. Excuse me. Gotta blow my nose. Allergies acting up this morning. Anyway, Cinccino. This thing doesn't really get any new... It does get one new move, but it doesn't get anything crazy as far as attacks go, like damage dealing. Instead, I'm pointing out that the loaded dice exist, and you can use Technician. So your tail slaps are going to be minimum of 100 base power, right? You throw the Technician on there, and now it's 150. Stab, it's 200? Is that the right calculation? Either way, Rock Blast is the same thing, 150 base power. Triple Axle, you've got 20, so it goes up to 30, 40, so it goes up to 60, 60, so it goes up to 90 for a total of 120 base power. 120 base power. It's very strong, right? It's very strong, and no, actually, not 120. 180. Yeah, 180. My bad. Normally it's 120. But it's 180 with Technician. So this thing is just it's super strong. It hits very hard. 95 attack is not super high, but because of how strong these moves are, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. And you're going to be doing it even more with Tidy Up because this boosts your attack and speed by 1 and clears of all substitutes and hazards. So again, Shed Tail is not that broken because we have ways to just straight up remove substitutes. I don't see an issue why we couldn't just let that be on Pokemon Showdown, but whatever. Cinccino is going to be super good. I'm really excited. Is it going to be OU? No, I'm not going to use it until obviously we get some kind of lower tier migration for a lot of these new Pokemon. But Battle Spot, I can see it being good in Battle Spot. I mean, the advantage of multi-hitting moves like this is that you break substitutes, you break Focus Sash, Sturdy, multi-scale, all that. It's really nice for you to have that. And Cinccino is like one of the Pokemon that uses multi-hitting moves the most. The other being Cloyster. But yeah, this thing with Technician and loaded dice is going to be nasty. I'm telling you. And I just been talking about the minimums. 4 hits. This thing could hit 5. And that is scary. That is genuinely scary. Electivire, new move. It's not Jump Kick. I had this here whenever I was making this list last night before Pokemon Showdown. I had it implemented. Supercell Slam. And the reason I had Jump Kick there in its place is because this is electric type Jump Kick. Like literally just the exact same effect, but electric type. 100 base power, 95% accuracy. If it misses or hits a ground type, so it's not very so it doesn't affect at all, you take half your HP in recoil. So there is a risk to it, but it's stronger than Wild Charge, and it doesn't kill you by doing recoil. So Electivire finally has a better option. They should just give it Volt Tackle, but whatever. Supercell Slam is a really cool sounding move. And while it might be risky to use, I mean, High Jump Kick and Jump Kick have been risky to use, and Pokemon have been using it for generations. It's not, I don't see that as much of a problem, in my opinion. Is the 10 power worth it? In this case, I would say yes, because you're not doing recoil. At least, you're hoping not to do recoil. Whereas Wild Charge, you have no choice. You're always going to be losing some HP. So I think it's worth it. I think it's a great new move for a lot of Pokemon that kind of wanted a better physical electric move. And Electivire is chief among them that I think gets it. I think it's very nice. Knockoff, that's cool. Normally you'd be running Earthquake here, but I honestly think Knockoff is might just be a better move to use because the utility you get from it, 130 base power whenever you're not actually knocking an item off. I think it's very, very good. Dang these allergies. Okay. But yeah, I really like that. I still wish they would just give it, some kind of Volt Tackle, or maybe just Volt Tackle but rename it to something else so you could keep Pikachu's precious signature move. It's not like we haven't given signature moves like Darkest Lariat to other Pokemon. Just share that. Stop being selfish, you stupid rat. Anyway, Wave Crash on Kingdra. Really cool. Speaking of high power recoil moves, Wave Crash is super good. It is 120 base power, 100% accuracy, but you take a third of the damage back. But that's totally worth it because this is a Swift Swim sweeper and has access to Dragon Dance. So even if the rain goes away, you can still make clouds over the opponent's head. I don't know what that analogy was. But yeah, Wave Crash and Outrage. I mean, Water and Dragon is pretty good coverage on its own, but it doesn't hit everything. Kingdra does have access to Iron Head, and I think it's actually pretty good with Terra Steel. I think this is a cool way to hit fairies because, say the opponent sends in Azumarill or Primarina, or if they ever bring back Tapu Fini. All three of those Pokemon are threatening to Kingdra, so having the ability to go with a Stab Iron Head is pretty cool. And plus, Mono Steel is just a good type, very good defensive type. So I think it's pretty good. I think it's solid. Even if you go Steel, you don't care about Fire because you're in the rain, ideally. So yeah, I mean it's a solid buff. Nothing too crazy, but it is pretty solid. I do think you're going to go for Special Kingdra more so than Physical, just in general. But it is nice that this thing has a better water option, because all I had before was Waterfall and Liquidation. So giving it this huge power buff, I think, is really, really good for it. And then, of course, we got Primarina, speaking of. This new move called Alluring Voice. 80 base power move. It doesn't say the effect yet in Showdown, but what it does is if the opponent boosts their stats this turn, it confuses them. And that's okay, but it's kind of not the best effect. The main thing you're using this for is the fact that it's a sound move, right? You're bypassing substitute screens, and it fits well with Primarina's goal, which is to use a lot of sound moves. You got Sparkling Aura, which is it cures the opponent of their burn, but it's 90 base power. It's the same thing as Surf, except it's a sound move, so you get the benefits of being a sound move. So it's a nice addition to the arsenal of Primarina. Most people will just go for Moonblast, and of course, if you are using Alluring Voice, you are subjected to Throat Chop, pretty much stopping all of your sound moves for a few turns. But is anyone in their right mind going to use Throat Chop on Primarina? Probably not. One, it resists it. Two, there's always a chance that I'm not using Alluring Voice. I'm using Moonblast, and then you just get destroyed. So I don't think it's while it's not going to be the most powerful option, it is 15 points less powerful. It is pretty nice on catching the opponent off guard. I think it's a great addition to this Pokemon. Now, do not use this move with Liquid Voice, because it will turn this fairy move into a water move, of which you already have one. So I don't think it's very good with Liquid Voice, but I think it is pretty cool that it has another sound move in its arsenal. So, Primarina, nice little buff. Overall, not too different. You're still going to be using it for specs, most likely. Every now and then you might try and do a Calm Mind Draining Kiss set, but for the most part, it's going to be specs. Duraludon. This thing can now use the Eviolite because you now have Archaludon, which is super good, by the way. I'll get to him in a minute. But this thing is, it didn't really get any new moves other than Terra Blast. It's kind of just the same thing. I didn't see anything notable when I was, putting this together. Dragon Cheer is only good in doubles, and good is, stretching it. But yeah, we've also got Mirror Coat. I think that might be new. But I mean, it's one of those Pokemon that's it doesn't have much to its name. It doesn't have much for moves. Oops, didn't mean to do that. It doesn't have much to do with moves and stuff like that. So it really only has one attempt of a set, which is 3 attacks, Stealth Rock. That's basically it. It has no recovery. It has no utility other than Stealth Rock. It has no setup moves other than Swords Dance, which has lower attacks. So why would you do that? Yeah, and its ability is kind of garbage too. Light Metal is not that great. Again, I apologize for my nose. It always does this when I try and record or stream in the morning. But this is the best time to do it because my brother's still asleep. So he's not gonna interrupt the video. But yeah, I think even though it's limited, I think in the lower tiers, Eviolite Duraludon is going to be kind of nasty. There's always the option for a Rest Talk set, right? There's always just Dragon Pulse, Flash Cannon, Rest Talk. You could always do that. So nothing is stopping you from trying something like that. And I mean, Steel Dragon is just a good typing. So I think having the option of running Eviolite now is really cool. And yeah, I think we'll see this thing. I mean, Sliggoo gets used, right? The Steel Dragon form of Sliggoo gets used in lower tiers because it has the Eviolite option, and it doesn't have a whole lot of utility in its move pool. It uses Rest Talk, so I think Duraludon naturally is going to go that direction too, and we'll see. Next up, we got Zebstrika, another Supercell Slam gifter. Again, this is Jump Kick, but just electric type. So if you miss or your move is not effective, if it doesn't if it hits ground types, it's going to do half damage to yourself. But it got a few other things too. Trailblaze, not the strongest move, but it does boost your speed, so kind of cool. And it is grass type coverage, so it's something. And then High Horsepower, which I think is really good. Zebstrika finally has some physical moves to use. It's got a 100 base attack, and it's never been able to do anything with it because all it's ever gotten is electric and normal for its physical moves, and flame charge if you want to stretch it. So yeah, I think Trailblaze is better than Flame Charge, even though they're like identical moves. I think it's better because it's grass, because at least you're hitting ground for something. It's at least something. The bare minimum, but it's something. And then high horsepower for hitting opposing electric types, steel types, and fire types, rock types as well. It's overall, I mean, it's a really nice buff. It's nothing crazy. It's not going to make Zimstrika good, but it is a nice series of small buffs to bring Zimstrika up a little bit. Of course, the special set is still available as well. You can use Overheat, Discharge, Thunderbolt. But besides that, I don't really see any other special moves for it. It didn't really get anything on the special side. Unfortunately, I wish it did. But, oh well. There's always Terra Blast, right? Terra Blast, I think, is going to be your friend here. Maybe it's the Trailblaze, you run Terra Blast Ice or Terra Blast Grass. Yeah, I think there's some good potential for Zimstrika in lower tiers. But yeah, it's just not going to be doing anything. And speaking of not going to be doing anything, Jolteon, it has gotten Alluring Voice. All of the evolutions have, as a matter of fact. And this is actually big because this and Glaceon have like no moves. So giving it anything is a buff, right? I mean, this thing used to have Signal Beam. I think, does it still have? It still has Shadow Ball, yeah. But, it just doesn't have anything to hit ground. And this is at least neutral, right? And there are some ground types like Great Tusk, Crocodile, Garchomp. All these ground types are weak to Fairy. And they're all fairly popular. So having Alluring Voice is a really great way of dealing with some ground types. So I think this is definitely a nice buff for Jolteon. I mean, it's got Calm Mind now. You got Discharge, Alluring Voice. You go Terra Blast. Terra Blast Ice. And you can deal with most ground types now with this thing. You just have to use your Terra on it, which is a little annoying, but it's not too bad. I think this has potential. I think this set has a lot more potential than it used to. I mean, back in Gen 8, I was forced to use Copycat on this thing. Like, I was actually using Copycat because I had no choice for moves. And finally, there's at least something. This also gets Alluring Voice. I think Skeledirge is really cool specifically Skeledirge, because most of the time you go Terra Fairy. It's just an excellent type to pair with Unaware. So yeah, I think this thing getting Alluring Voice is really nice because now you don't have to run Terra Blast if you want to, go Fairy. You can now rely on this instead, and this just is better than Terra Blast in this case because it has a secondary effect. Not a good one, but a secondary effect. And yeah, I mean, it's this way, if you don't use your Terra type on this, you still don't have a normal move doing nothing in your moveset. All right. Next, Gyarados. This is not Stomping Tantrum. This is Temper Flare. Now the reason I put Stomping Tantrum here is because Temper Flare has the exact same effect as Stomping Tantrum. If your last move failed, whether that means misses, was ineffective, or was protected against, or even taunted, Temper Flare will double in power. So it goes from 75 to 150. And this is wild because it's a fire move on Gyarados. Gyarados now has access to fire type coverage. And while it might not be the most useful, I think Power Whip was more impactful before it apparently lost it. It seems like it doesn't have it anymore. Power Whip was more impactful, I think, than anything. But Temper Flare, I think, is going to be pretty cool because, I mean, look at its moves. I put these two moves here for a reason. Waterfall, there's Water Absorb, there's Storm Drain, Earthquake, there's Levitate, Flying types. You can just freely go for these moves and then not really care if your opponent switches into something that's going to be immune to them, because you can just go for a double power Temper Flare, 150 power base fire move from a water type. And yes, I know it's have Fire Blast and Flamethrower, but it's different because this is a physical move. This is something that it can actually use. and I think that's so cool. I think the idea of this is so cool. Is it the best move in the world? No, definitely not. But it is pretty good. A lot of Pokemon do get this move, and I'm only going to be highlighting Pokemon that, just have not had access to fire moves before or had very weak options. So, for instance, Skuntank now has Temper Flare. And that's really cool because it only had a special fire move before. Now it has a physical option. And because Toxic can fail against Steel and Poison types, Gunk Shot can fail against Steel types, and it can also miss. I think Temper Flare is going to be an excellent move on Skuntank. I think this is going to be a huge buff for Skuntank, especially since it lost Defog, which... Why, Game Freak? Why? This was the only thing it did. Why would you... I want to choke people sometimes. But yeah, this thing, not the best Pokemon in the world, but Temper Flare is definitely going to make it better. Klawf also gets Temper Flare, which it has quite a few wild moves out there. I mean, it's a rock type with a water move, Crab Hammer. It has Knock Off, which is nice, a bunch of rock moves. It doesn't have Earthquake, but it does have High Horsepower and Stomping Tantrum. Trailblaze to boost its speed, X Scissor, Throat Chop. It's just got a bunch of things. And I think all of them are pretty good options, including Temper Flare. Because once again, Stone Edge can miss, and High Horsepower can be, not effective because the opponent has Levitate or Flying. So, I think this is a pretty decent option to run. I mean, a lot of rock types that have Fire Punch will try and run Fire Punch for grass, and I think this is a good option. I think this is better than X Scissor for sure. It's 5 less power, but I mean, you have the chance to make it 150, so I think it's a pretty good move. And I think Revavroom getting it is also really good. I mean, this thing has just been getting better and better and better. When it first came out, it pretty much only had Poison and Steel type moves. So your options were basically just Terra Blast for coverage. But now you have Temper Flare, you have High Horsepower. I think it also has Supercell Slam. No, it does not. Okay, but it does have Zen Headbutt for fighting types if you want to use that as well. This thing has just gotten overall just better and better as the generation has gone. It has Shift Gear, which is really nice. And again, things that can fail that it has. Gunk Shot can miss and be immune by Steel types. Taunt can not work against Pokemon with Oblivious. So yeah, I think the idea of using it on this Pokemon is really good. It beats other Steel types, beats Grass types, even though you're already poisoned. It beats Ice types. It beats another one. Come on, what is it? I can't think of it. But yeah, I mean, it's overall Bug. Why did I forget Bug? It's a decent buff. Will I run it over High Horsepower? Probably not. But unless there's like a specific matchup that I'm afraid of, I might go for Temper Flare. Right? I might go for it. And continuing on, Great Tusk. Great Tusk somehow gets Supercell Slam as a ground type, but it also gets Temper Flare, which is just... This thing is already like the best Pokemon in this generation. Why give it more? Why give it more? That's my question. Like, why give it more? It's already on top. But yeah, and this I think might actually just be the best user of this move, in my opinion. Because not only does it have Headlong Rush, ground type move, the opponent could have Levitate or Flying types. Close Combat, the opponent could have Ghost types. Then Rapid Spin, the opponent could still have Ghost types. So, like, there's so many options for this Pokemon's moves to fail that Temper Flare is just, like, almost guaranteed, right? It's almost guaranteed. If your opponent plays smart and switches, you just punish them for it. It's so good. And it is a good coverage move. I mean, Ice Spinner is going to be always better against other Great Tusk. But Temper Flare is going to be good against grass types that might want to switch into this. A grass ghost type, which there are plenty of. Grass poison, which switches to fighting. It doesn't switch to ground, but it does switch into fighting. Grass fairy. Grass fairy could switch into this as well. And now they can't because Temper Flare. So I think that's really cool. I think... the idea of this move being 150 base power after any of these moves fail is very, very likely. And again, it's got the stats for it. It's got, an excellent type. And this is just one more coverage option that it has. Some more Supercell slams of Pokemon that have been in the game for a while. Luxray, this now has it. Luxray is still going to be bad. But Palmont might enjoy it, right? Palmont might enjoy this quite a bit. It's also had to rely on Wild Charge for a while. Oh yeah, Double Shock. That takes away your electric type. I forgot about that. This is a strong power move, but it does get rid of your electric type. So it's like you only get to really abuse it once at the maximum power because you don't get stab anymore. So it is kind of nice to have another option that's not going to be doing recoil to you. Of course, this thing has close combat, Ice Punch, Revival Blessing, and Lempa Berry. So you get to use it twice. So yeah, I mean it's a solid Pokemon. Revival Blessing is just an insane move that I still can't believe exists. But it does, and it's very effective, and Palmont is known for using it. So, giving it more options of which to deal higher damage is a good buff. So I'm happy with it. We finally get 2 electric fighting types, and Electivire is still not one of them, but maybe a new form will come out. Triple Axel returns to Weavile. That's really nice. This Pokemon started off kind of bad, but now it's good because it has knockoff and Triple Axel again. We got Masquerada. This thing gets Triple Axel, which is just terrifying, right? I mean, look at the stats. Just look at that. Look at that thing. I'm terrified. We got Protean making it a stab ice type move on 110 attack, 123 speed. This is just basically Weavile, but slightly weaker and slightly slower. But the fact is that it can keep changing its type throughout the battle to anything almost. This Pokemon's move pool has expanded so much, and it's good. It's just freaking good. It's one of those Pokemon that definitely one of the best in the generation, in my opinion. And it keeps proving so by getting buffs. And also, another starter, Quaquaval, has Triple Axel, which is a little bit better than Ice Spinner, in my opinion. And it's definitely, got the 120 base power, which is better than 80. Of course, the risk is, you could miss. And missing the first one will not allow you to do the other two, and so on. So it's a risk-reward type of thing. But I do think it's worth it because of the power it grants. Even if you only hit 2, that's still 60, which isn't strong, but it's not nothing, right? So odds are in your favor you're going to be doing okay damage. Odds are also in your favor that you're going to be doing high damage. So I think this is a really cool move. And if it bothers you, you can always just go for White Lens, right? So that's all the old Pokemon getting buffed and newly re-added Pokemon buffed. Let's talk about the just straight up new Pokemon. So the sprites still aren't in the game, like the models still aren't in Pokemon Showdown. So I'm going to be using kind of stand-ins. We got Archaludon. Here are the stats: 90 HP, 105 attack, 130 defense, 125 special attack, 65 special defense, and 85 speed. This is the first evolution of a Pokemon that existed in a previous generation that has not lowered its speed in so long. It is painful to me how every single afterthought evolution lowers the speed. Electivire, Magmortar, freaking what's the other one that just came out this generation? I can't remember. But either way, every single evolution, even freaking Weirdeer and Farigiraf, they lower the speed. Why? What is the purpose of lowering the speed every time? So it's really frustrating, and this one finally just does not do that, which I expected it to just looking at it, but thankfully they kept it at 85, which 85 is not that great, right? But it is it is decent enough to where it can outspeed things with a Scarf. And this is not Electro Ball, by the way. This is Electro Shot, which apparently is illegal right now because they still haven't programmed it in the game. I have so much snot. No more. All right. But yeah, this thing, Steel Dragon as well, it's got freaking stamina. So now every time you hit it, it's going to get more defensive, which is wild. Oh yeah, it probably says it's illegal because I'm using Duraludon G-Max instead of Archaludon. But anyway, this thing is, this move essentially it's Meteor Beam, but electric. So it charges up the first turn, boosts your special attack by one stage. Second turn, blast the opponent, but there's a catch. It happens instantly in the rain. Which at that point, I ask, why can't Meteor Beam do the same thing in Sandstorm? That would make Tyranitar sets, I don't know if it gets to move or not, but if it does, that would make special Tyranitar sets insane. But yeah, I really hope they update that with Meteor Beam. They'll probably have to do it next generation. Oh, hello, brother. Good morning, brother. I'm recording video. I just wanted to release the Butter Bean. The Butter Bean. That is my little dog. But yeah. So Electro Shot is really cool. I think it's kind of weird that it's on a Steel Dragon type, but I don't know anymore. I just nod and agree. Aura Sphere is a really cool move for this Pokemon. It finally got some more coverage, and it's actually useful because it beats opposing Steel types, which for the longest time Duraludon has not been able to hit. But now Archaludon has this move. Unfortunately, Duraludon does not get it. It's only Archaludon, which is super lame. And Game Freak, I'm coming to your house, okay? But anyway, the Aura Sphere edition is really nice. It also does get Meteor Beam, and it's always had Dark Pulse. So it's like, it actually has a decent looking move pool now. Would I prefer Earth Power or Flamethrower? Probably, but Aura Sphere is good, right? Aura Sphere is just straight up good. It doesn't miss. 80 base power, not bad. So I look at this and I'm like, okay, I can use this as an anti-rain Pokemon, right? Because it's Dragon, it switches into water. I throw an Assault Vest on there. I'm not weak to ice. I don't really care about, any kind of coverage unless they have ground coverage. Water typically uses ice. If they have ground, they'll go for it. But a lot of special attacking water types do not have earth power. If anything, they're the physical types, right? They're physical with a liquidation or wave crash, and maybe they have earthquake. But this thing has high defense, right? This isn't even the right stats. It has 130 defense, 90 HP. This thing is bulky enough to take it. And especially with stamina, the more you hit it, the more bulky its physical defense is going to get. So I slap an Assault Vest on this thing, and now I'm super tank. I am super tank the Pokemon. I have become Dialga. And the coolest thing I think about this is that, Archaludon has 600 base stat total. It is now a pseudo legendary. Like it is, Duraludon has, in the span of an entire generation and a half, it has now become a pseudo legendary, which I think is so cool. So it's very formidable at this point. Like it's got a great ability as opposed to having terrible ones in the past. It's got this great ability. It's got a great move pool, and it's got great stats. I mean, it's just it always had potential, but now it's finally unlocked it with Archaludon. Next we have Hydrapple. Which is the Evolve Forward Dipplin, which we all knew was coming because Dipplin can use the Eviolite, which was a dead giveaway. This is not Core Enforcer, this is Fickle Beam. Fickle Beam is the 80 base power dragon move that has a 30% chance to double in power. Why they decided to make this is wild to me, but I have no clue what they were thinking. But basically, Hydrapple has like a really long neck sticking out of the apple, and every now and then when it uses Fickle Beam, 4 more heads can pop out and fire at once, which doubles the power of the move. Okay. It still has that stupid move, Surrey Bomb, which is just bad. Uh, Earth Power is nice though. Finally, we have some good coverage for this thing. It can hit Steel, which is so good. Hydro Pump, which is wild. Where did this come from? But I guess it's like Salamence, right? Salamence has Hydro Pump too. So yeah, so now it can just spray like a super powerful beam of water out of its mouth. It could spit on you, and it has an nasty plot. Bulky setup sweeper, okay. And not only that, but it has regenerator. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. They gave this thing regenerator. Like, what in the world are they thinking? Yeah. So this thing. Let's look at the stats. 106 HP, 80 attack, 110 defense, 120 special attack, 80 special defense, and 44 speed. God almighty. This thing is going to be a monster. What can I say? This thing is going to be a monster. I don't care if it's Tides 4 weak to ice. This thing will still live through it, right? It's still going to live through it because it's so bulky. 106, 110, and 80, that is great. That is, like, I can't believe I'm actually saying that an Applin evolution is top tier because I genuinely think it is. Even if you don't use Fickle Beam, just use Draco Meteor or Dragon Pulse, right? You know, just go for whatever you want. Um, but I mean, it's got Energy Ball, it's got Giga Drain, Leaf Storm. I mean, it's just got so many moves. And here's just a few different ideas I have for it. You got this eject pack set because it has both Draco Meteor and Leaf Storm. Very easy to trigger the effect of the eject pack, which says if your stats lower, you switch out and you get to choose what you switch out into. It's essentially, eject button, which if you get hit, you swap out, but this is more specific, right? It allows you to use Draco Meteor, hit them very hard, or Leaf Storm, hit them very hard, and then swap out in the same turn, which is excellent with Regenerator. Now this only works once, but the idea is certainly there. I think I think this is a very great set idea for this because not only is it powerful at 120 base special attack with 130 base stab moves, you are also slow. So it makes it more likely that you're going to hit the opponent and switch out after they've hit Hydrapple. So yeah, this is going to be an insane set. I think there's so much there's so much potential for this thing, and that's just abusing Regenerator the most, right? That's this set. You got Earth Power for coverage, Recover just to heal even more, and then this one is more so like Assault Vest, Specs. You've got Giga Drain, Fickle Beam, Earth Power, and Hydro Pump. You're doing so much damage and being so bulky, like you're unkillable at this point. Like you're just not going to die. You go into a Terra type like Water, and now you have Stab Hydro Pump. Oh, what are you gonna do? It is genuinely surprising how good this Pokemon is, and I cannot wait to use it on a Regenerator spam team. Then we got Gouging Fire, which is the Paradox form of Entei. It's got Photosynthesis, of course. It's Fire Dragon, which is so cool. It's got Flare Blitz, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Dragon Dance. This is just a set that I threw together that I think will be super good. Of course, it has other moves that I'll show in a minute. But here's the stats. It actually drops 10 HP, keeps the same attack, buffs its defense from 85 to 121. Special attack goes down to 65. I love it when they do that. And then 93 special defense buffed from 75. But its speed does go down to 91. Now, 91 is not terrible. It's the same as Landorus. But it's not what it used to be, right? It's not exactly fast. Good news is that this thing has Dragon Dance. So it doesn't really matter if its speed is not the greatest in the world because it's just going to buff it. And the EVs are, the stats are close enough that you could manipulate the EVs in your stats to make its speed higher. So Booster Energy will give you a speed boost instead of an attack boost. You could do that. I don't recommend it because it would make Entei very weak. just for the price of getting speed, right? I think Dragon Dance is plenty fine enough. And if you don't like Dragon Dance, you do have Scale Shot, so you can run loaded dice with Scale Shot. If you don't like the recoil from Flare Blitz, you can go for Raging Fury. And I think this thing doesn't have Sacred Fire, but I do think it has like Heat Crash. It has Heat Crash, so you can use that. Sorry, I'm getting a roll of toilet paper because for some reason my nose cannot stop running. The power! My nose is either going to be red from how much I'm rubbing it or purple from how much I'm bruising it with how powerful my nose is. So some other moves. You've got this Baneful Bunker, which is not actually Baneful Bunker. It's, was it Burning Bulwark? Yeah. This is basically just protect. If your opponent touches you, you burn them, which is really cool. And I think a lot of people are going to immediately look at this and say, like, wow, this is going to be the best offensive Pokemon ever in the Sun because of Photosynthesis, because of Dragon Dance, because of its move pool. It's just going to be the best thing ever. I think it's going to be equally good as a defensive, bulky Pokemon. You got Burning Bulwark, which is super good for burning the opponent. They try and hit you with a contact move. Headlong Rush is a contact move that freaking Great Tusk is going to go for. King Gambit is going to try and hit you with like a Katal Cleave. And now you can just use this, burn them once they touch you, and severely weaken their power that they would normally have against you. And then you've also got Raging Fury if you don't want to do recoil. Scale Shot is super good for boosting your speed. Instead of running Dragon Dance, you can just run Loaded Dice Scale Shot. And then for the defensive set, you've also got Morning Sun, which, might I remind you, in the Sun is going to heal you 75% of your HP instead of 50. The cost of this, of course, is that if you're fighting rain or a sandstorm or snow, you're going to be only healing, I think, 25, which is not very good. But the added benefit of running this in Sun is not just the healing; it's the fact that you have fire moves. It's going to be boosting those and one of your stats with Photosynthesis, likely your attack. Running this thing as a defensive or offensive Pokemon, I think is going to be super good. Its stats are excellent, just great quality of life changes, like dropping that special attack and boosting almost everything else. Is very nice. Its stats are so good. Its typing is so good. Its move pool is so good. It is excellent. A little bit of a surprise here. We've got Electric Dragon type Raikou, which is the new Paradox form. Also having Photosynthesis. What it has is, if I can remember the electric move. Let me see. Let me just scroll down. It's not Electro Shot. What is it called? Thunderclap. Thunderclap. It is special electric type Sucker Punch. So if the opponent is going to use a damaging attack move, you have +1 priority, which seems kind of redundant on Raikou until you realize that they dropped its speed from 115 to 75. That is 40 points lost. But it didn't go nowhere. It went to its special attack, 137 now, which is massive. I mean, that is nuclear levels of special attack. And then 125 HP. This is the tank now. Suicune is the offensive one, and now this is the tank, which is crazy. 73 special attack again. They lowered it. I love that so much. 73 attack. I think I might have said special attack. 91 defense, which is pretty good. 89 special defense, which is pretty good. It does drop from 100, but I mean, look at that HP stat. It doesn't matter. So a set for this. You want to run this, I think it's Sunny Day teams. You've got, or Drought teams rather. Thunderclap for that priority. Draco Meteor for that power. Solar Beam for the coverage against ground types. Super good. Sun. And then Volt Switch to get on out of there. I think this is such a good Pokemon. I think this is such... Sun teams have gotten to so much diversity with the Pokemon they run in them because of the Photosynthesis mons. and Raikou is just another excellent addition to it. I think this is more so than Entei. I think Raikou's new form is going to make Sun extremely good because now it has a reliable way of killing water. It also has a weather ball, which I think is super good if the opponent changes the weather to sandstorm, snow, rain. Your move is now, it's not just dead. It has more coverage to it because of the type changing mechanic of this move. It also has Calm Mind and Taunt, so you can use Calm Mind with Thunderclap, Dragon Pulse. Maybe you have Terra Blast on there. Taunt to stop your opponent from setting up on you, and Dragon Tail to force them out. But yeah, let's speed through the rest of this because I gotta wrap this up. The new Terrakion form is Rock Psychic. Its stats are very much the same. About the same, a little bit bulkier on the special side, less bulky on the physical, much faster, but slightly less powerful. Rock Psychic is cool, not the best typing in the world, but it is pretty cool. This is now, I think this is like a, Cleave? Mighty Cleave? Yeah, Mighty Cleave is a 95 base power, 100% accurate rock move. Yes! Finally, we get it. Unfortunately, it has to rely on Zen Headbutt or Psycho Cut for its psychic moves. Not the best, but it is at least 100% accurate rock move. It also has Sacred Sword in close combat for coverage. It has Iron Head, Egg Scissor, Mega Horn as well. Throat Chop, Earthquake. I mean, it's just got a ton of moves. The problem is its ability is Quark Drive, which basically forces you to use the booster energy. Otherwise, your ability is useless. So it is a little limiting, but it is, I think, a pretty good Pokemon. Is it as good as Terrakion? No, probably not. But I think the idea of having a guaranteed rock move is really nice. Like, this is not going to miss. Finally, it's not going to miss. And then lastly, second to lastly, Cobalion, new form, Steel Psychic type. Gear Grind is not actually the move. I think it's, let me just look up Steel and find it. Where is it at? What is it called? I do not know. Tachyon Cutter. It's a 50 base power special steel move that hits twice, and it cannot miss. Super good. The ability to, you lead with this, right? You lead with this. You've got Stealth Rock, just like the original Cobalion has. You find a Glamora, right? The opponent is using a Glamora. Well, guess what? Focus Sash ain't gonna cut it. Tachyon Cutter just kills it in 2 shots. And that's so good. I love that so much. Psyshock is cool. Unfortunately, it doesn't have Aura Sphere, which is so unbelievably lame. It has to use Focus Blast, which means I will probably not be using this Pokemon. But it does still have Volt Switch, which is weird. It's always been weird, but I love it. I'm not going to complain. Some other moves, Future Sight, it's going to be very strong because it does have, if you look at the stats, I mean, 122 special attack is really good. 100 defense is still not as strong as it used to be. 129, but still very good. 108 special defense is good as well. 90 HP is workable. That's good. And then 98 speed. I don't know why they made it slower. It's kind of disappointing, but it is pretty good still. 98 is not terrible. It's the same speed as Hydreigon, right? And Hydreigon works, so this thing can work too. It's just, why did they have to nerf the speed, bro? Why? But with that being said, I still think this thing is going to be cool. I just don't think it's going to be as impactful as the legendary Beast Paradox forms. I think these guys are just a little bit underwhelming because Psychic is not that insane of a type compared to Dragon. So I do think it's a little bit underwhelming, but these are still going to be great Pokemon. Make no mistake, these are going to be excellent Pokemon wherever they end up. And then the last one, Petrarunt. Look at the stats. Do I have to explain why this Pokemon is stupid? Who did this? Game Freak, is this a sign? Is this a cry for help? Is this, do you need some kind of, rescue or something? Are you trapped in the basement? This is stupid. 88 on everything except for defense. I already know this mon's gonna be trash, but there is some I guess redeeming qualities. Toxic Chain is not actually its ability. I think it's Malignant Chain. No. Let me look up Toxic. Nope. I don't know what it is, but the ability is basically if the opponent gets poisoned by any of this Pokemon's moves, they also get confused, which is dumb. And it's the first Ghost Poison type we've had since Gengar, and it couldn't be more different. I guess it could be because it does still have Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, and now this thing has Recover, which is pretty cool. But besides that, I mean, as far as like coverage goes, it really doesn't have coverage. It really just has Ghost and Poison. That's it, which is not very good offensively. But I don't think that's what this thing is trying to do. I think it's trying to be defensive. I mean, look at that defense, 160 defense. You're gonna be defensive with this. So, Malignant Chain is a move that it has as well. It says Sludge Bomb. You can use Malignant Chain, which I kind of forget what it does, actually. Let me pull that up. Let me see if it has it here. It does not have it here. If I'm remembering correctly, I think it has a chance to Toxic the opponent. I think that's what it does. But it's 100 power, 100 accuracy. You only get to use it 8 times though, so be aware of that. But it does just have good old Toxic as the reliable way to spread poison. Destiny Bond and Memento, I really like that. Parting Shot, which is cool, allows you to get out of there and drop the opponent's stats to make it easier for your Pokemon coming in to take a hit. And there's some other stuff. It is equally strong in physical attack as a special attack, so Gunk Shot and Poltergeist are viable options. Acid Spray is cool if you don't want to go for a Nasty Plot set. You could drop the opponent's special defense instead. Hex as well combos very well with Toxic. And yeah, I mean, if I were to make a set right now, this would be it, right? This would be the set. This would be what I would be doing here. Poison Puppeteer, that's what it's called. Yeah, I mean, this is just what I would be doing. It's something like this. Maybe not special attack. Maybe I'd run max HP, max speed. But yeah, I mean, this is the set, right? This is in my opinion what the set should be. Leftovers or Air Balloon. I think Air Balloon is perfectly viable. Or Shuckleberry. So yeah, I mean, like, there's definitely a potential for this thing to be good. I just think it's kind of weird. I don't think it's going to be top tier by any means. I just think it's going to be annoying wherever it ends up. However you use it, I think it's going to be annoying because of Poison Puppeteer. So yeah, that's all the old Pokemon that are getting new moves and buffs, and that's all the new Pokemon as well. So, except for the turtle, I don't have any thoughts on the turtle. Like, I don't understand like how you're supposed to use it yet. So I'm just not going to talk about it until I get it. So maybe in a future stream I'll talk about the turtle. But yeah, I mean, it's really just it's a totally different looking Pokemon than anything we've ever had before. So my thoughts will be summed up later, and until then, have fun playing this new buff. Use Sceptile on Battle Spot singles because you can't do it on Showdown because for some reason Shentail is banned, and I understand it's really good. Believe me, I understand it's good, but I think Aurora Veil is just as good. I genuinely think Aurora Veil is just as good, and we don't ban that, so I don't understand. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you want to watch more of my content, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to this channel so you get notified whenever I go live next. Check out my social media to see my art projects. On DeviantArt, we just had a free request contest for hitting 750 followers. That is the highest number of followers I've ever had on anything, and it's going so fast. To give you an idea, not even a full month ago, I did the 500 followers free request drawing. So this is going very quickly, and I appreciate that so much. Obviously, you guys seem to like my art, and if you like my comics, I've got good news. Realm of Steel is coming up pretty soon. Coming in 2024. You can expect to see campaign advertisements for when I'm going to launch the new Kickstarter, and we'll go from there. So, thanks so much for watching. Until next time.